Hello, everyone. Hold on. Wednesday. Yay. Happy Wednesday. I've got a guest today, Ellen, who follows the channel. And you guys know that, like, if I see you guys dropping really nice comments or stuff, I'll give you an opportunity to be platformed. And she was talking about symbols. And it occurred to me, I mean, I've done the Illuminati hand symbols. I've done a video with all that. She got into Jordan Maxwell. She's followed him for many years. Jordan was a good friend of mine until he passed. And every single year on the day of his death, occult priestess, truth seeker, and we'll probably grow it too, do a tribute for him on March 23rd. So I'm going to bring Ellen on. And again, nobody's an expert in anything, guys, even me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all always have a lot to learn, but like I said, this is just living proof that if you reach out, I will give you an opportunity. So let me bring her on. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Micah. How are you?
I'm good. So real quick, give us a little intro to yourself. How did you find my work? And what are we going to talk about today?
Well, yeah, I have just been, I guess I incarnated here for all this truth movement thing. I began my journey truly in earnest when I was working on Hollywood movie sets in Georgia and listening to people have the most outstanding lectures like Jordan Maxwell. And you mentioned also Santos Bonacci. He's one of my favorites as well with the astrotheology. But these types of minds really got me interested in all of what we're about to talk about today with the symbolism and how it's literally a language that we truly need to try to immerse ourselves in, because the occultists who have been running the world are using it to talk to us, but we do not know about this language.
Correct.
So, yeah.
What I talk about too, what I tell people is that everything from the courts to maritime law to everything, the symbols and everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. It's whether they've inverted it and perverted the meaning or if it's kept its original meaning. However, when you're talking about symbols, the origin, or in words, it would be the original etymology of the word, is where the power lies. See, when you see them doing things like this and you freak out on and run to Twitter or Facebook, whatever, and then repost the countless celebrities that do this, right? You're feeding into that negative energy, not even realizing that this is actually just a mudra.
Yes.
Right? So it's important for us to reclaim this information and understand the origin of things, because the origin is where the power lies.
Yes.
And Ellen, at the origin of everything, it is positive.
Yes.
It's only been perverted. So what do we have? What can we start off with? What did you prepare?
So I have folders and folders of information, but what I'm going to do is I had spoken about sharing some information about Saturn.
Yes.
Because Saturn is Saturn is the energy that rules Aquarius, and that's the age that we're supposed to be going in as ordained by Western astrotheology, or what we would call astrology. And the thing to know is that in the Siderean or Vedic astrology, they are actually saying that we're going into Capricorn. So that's just, the Western astrology is actually based on seasonal timelines.
Correct.
And then the Vedic is, on the stars, which is more precise. But
correct. Well, I mean, the way I describe it, Ellen, is I tell people, me and you are going to a party, right? And we both get into our cars and we punch in the directions to the GPS. There's two separate directions, but they end up at the same place. That's basically what you're talking about here.
Yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't looked at this in a while, but Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn, isn't he?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So we just need to know that what's been done is that these dark forces are just an aspect of ourselves. And we have to know darkness in order to comprehend our light, which is why it's motivating us to come out and start speaking our truth. So as we give gratitude for all these experiences, we actually grow in our soul essence. And that's really what this whole experience is about on a spiritual level. But I don't know how far you've delved into alchemy. Alchemy is a world of symbols that they're using in front of our faces. As you can see, this is the symbol for arsenic, which is also.
Hold on 1 second. Do you have it pulled up?
Yes. Is it not showing on my?
You have to hit present, and then I'll pull it up.
I hit that. I put share screen. I don't know what. Is it showing or no? Can you see my screen?
No, it's not. Hold on.
I am not sure why, because I hit present and it says share screen. Screen sharing is with 2 monitors. Don't show these tips again. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Crap. Hold on. I apologize, everyone. Let me just see here a sec. Hold on. Okay. Nope.
It says it's not. It's asking me if I want to allow it to use my screen, but it doesn't give me the option to push allow. And I don't know why.
All right, hold on. 1 sec. Let me see if I can give you
entire screen
settings.
Okay, let me see if this is going to work. The browser can't access your screen. Sounds like technical difficulties.
Yeah. Guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but it won't let me do it.
All right. Okay. So, okay. We can do this. So what symbol are we looking for real quick?
Well, I have a symbol for arsenic, and it is the Freemasonic symbol. But, you know, these symbols are just part of the tetragrammaton, too.
Yes, the tetragrammaton. So, okay, so I'm going to try and fill in the blanks for this. I told you we were having some technical difficulties. But yeah, let me go ahead.
What I can do is I can email you some images if you want. That way you have more.
I can pull them up in real time.
Well, here's the thing. Like, when you go online and you look at all of the different symbols for alchemy, you're going to have several different images for the same substance. And it can get very confusing. But this is where, you know, once we dive in on our own investigations to learn all of the different symbols that they've been using in alchemy for so long, then...
Can you see this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so this
the
is
one.
The symbol. Okay.
Yes, it's arsenic. But it's also, if you know, this is the Freemasonic symbol that they use in a lot of their logos.
Very similar to the square and the compass, it is.
Yes, and so when we're talking about
also, if I were to add to this too, if I'm looking at the picture all the way on the right, it's the masculine entering the feminine too.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is all of these symbols are part of the tetragrammaton of the matrix. You know,
let me pull that up for people who don't know what that is. 4 letters, Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is what I talk about.
Yes, and you know, I just had an interview with Jay Widener, and he said that one of his friends figured out that the symbols, the fire letter languages, are based upon the toroidal shapes of a toroid. Mm-hmm. If you took he said that some genius friend that he knew took a coat hanger and made a toroid out of wire. And as the light was shining on it, he would turn it in different directions, and it would create the different fire letters used in what
actually, I'm under the impression, too, I forget where I heard it from. It was from one of my good friends, but apparently you could do the same thing with light entering. I don't know if a toroidal field, I think, and it places it basically shows you the Hebrew alphabet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard that, but yeah, that's what it basically does. Yeah, this is all light language.
So, and you know the etymology of Hebrew, correct?
Yes.
And Jeru, Jew, and Jip as well, right?
No, that I'm not familiar with.
They're all the same as Hebrew.
Okay.
Yes. And I will let people go and discover that etymology for themselves, because as Jordan Maxwell said, this is what led me to go look into the etymology of it. Jordan Maxwell stated that Hebrew is a derogatory term, and I didn't know what he was talking about because he never explained it. But he didn't want to have a backlash, so I went...
Well, he said originally, he did say in one of his videos that I saw, that there is nothing called Hebrew from the ancient times. It's actually ancient Phoenician Canaanite.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so, looking into the etymology really gave me an eye-opening awareness. And because it also had Jeru, Jew, and GYP, which is Gyp, like Egypt, and Jerusalem, and, all these other words that people are using and saying, oh, I'm Egyptian and I'm Hebrew. No, we shouldn't be using these terms.
Right.
But, on that note, further, when you think about the sound frequencies of things like Chinese, Spain, Greece, all of these words, what do they evoke in your mind when you sound them? Chai is ki, which is the letter X, that's ki in Chinese. Ki is inner chi or energy, and then putting the key on their knees. You know how oppressed they are in China. Well, it really just starts hitting home about all of the different language that we've been emitting, and we're not truly thinking about what we're speaking. But there's also Dr. Leonard Horowitz. Are you familiar with his work too?
Please share.
Dr. Leonard Horowitz is, he's like some genius with math, but he discovered that the English language is, if you added it backwards and forwards in numerology, because there's only numbers 1 through 9. And if you added the English language forwards and backwards, it would come out to the equivalent of all 9s, which is a dead language. And the dead language is actually made to dumb us down exponentially, because we are alchemists of sound.
Right.
And now that we're learning about the fire letter languages, we're supposed to be using those languages for creation. The entire world is supposed to be using very similar fire letter languages to create things. Now, there's only a few places in the world where they're using these fire letter languages, which tells you a lot as well. At least, based on my research, I believe it's Saudi Arabia, Aramaic, Sumerian was one of them, but there's one other one too. Well, Hebrew, they call it Hebrew, but that's not a language. So we're talking about when we add on the narrative of Tartaria and what people are digging in there, we're discovering a world hijack, basically.
Yes.
And that Tartar means strong thief, and that they were the actual Mongols. They were the Mongols, and whatever means they used, they took over the world. And Ukraine sits where the last remaining remnant of Tartaria was, in the old times, but it was spread out across, and it was called Tartaria. And Tartarus and Tartary, they are places underneath the ground. And we keep hearing about deep underground military bases and all these things. Everything in this world is connected, is my basically what I'm trying to express. And that the more that we are curious about literally everything, don't be afraid of knowledge, don't be afraid of anything, because that's what they've really instilled in the people, is to fear the lost knowledge, magic and astrology and all.
The average person thinks alchemy is a rudimentary, dumbed down version of what we call chemistry now, even though chemistry goes back to Egypt.
Yes.
Vedic.
Exactly. So it was known as Kemet, the land of Kemet.
Yes.
And they were brought up in their consciousness to know spirit alchemy. But somehow these usurpers, they involve the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman, Inquisition. The Rome roamed around the world and has now taken over. And we're dealing with, a crime syndicate cartel that is in positions of power. And that's basically, in a nutshell, what we're dealing with is that it just got bigger and it spread around. But
Right.
you
can kind of see that in politics these days, because everyone very much so has their savior that's going to come in. You're going to elect him and he's going to change things, and then they become part of the swamp. I don't know if you're familiar who Robert David Steele was. He was a CIA analyst who became a whistleblower, and he died of COVID. Actually, they put him on remdesivir, and then they put him on one of those masks. But he said that these are good people trapped in a bad system.
Yes.
They're not evil.
Exactly. So I also heard about the Japanese president, that he was threatened that if he did not acquiesce to the demands of this crime syndicate, they were going to cause an earthquake using the technology that they have down in Antarctica. There's been whistleblowers that have come out talking about all of that crazy equipment that's down there. And of course,
I mean, from my understanding of this very dense topic, I'm under the impression that the earthquake machine, first of all, I have a book series, and in one of my books, I talk about Tesla's earthquake machine that supposedly shook up Manhattan, right? But from my understanding, I think what they do is they go deep down into the ocean and they mess with the tectonic plates. Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, just look at what CERN is capable of. I believe CERN is just another earthquake type of machine, but it can also open up portals. Mm-hmm. And these portals, I have a very different view from what NASA is portraying of our world, based on going into these spiritual sciences and things. There were never any alchemists of old who absolutely studied everything about our existence. They never said that we could go to the planets in a linear fashion, ever.
Well, Newton was an alchemist. In fact, Newton said he was an alchemist before he was a scientist.
Yeah, so, but I do suspect, based on my studies of Saturn, being the Lord of the Rings, essentially being the head construct of this world, encompassing all of the other spheres, because this is what it's usually referring to, the body in a cosmology, and as above, so below, as within, so without, that this barrier that they've been pumping, this black crude oil, because anything in this existence is tied to Saturn. That's what you learn first and foremost. I have a book. It's called The Cult of the Black Cube, and it can be found online in PDF format. It talks about all of the things that Saturn represents. And when they're pumping crude oil out of the ground at an astronomical rate and selling it to us, we do not know the implications of this on a spiritual level. I do suspect, based on my research on Saudi Arabia and all of the Middle Eastern traditions, that they are very much aware of the jinn and the power of the jinn and alchemical processes.
The jinn, by the way, they're the in Islam, right? They're the spirit entities, right?
Yes, they're spirits. There's different spirits. They're basically, some of them can be considered demons, but you can control the jinn through gem stones. Different colored gems are connected to different jinn. This would also be a reference to our chakra system. So it made sense to me that there's much more to this world that's going on than we could ever fathom.
And would you agree with my original point? I don't know if I made it on air or if I said it beforehand, but everything is spiritual.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you a question because of your knowledge on Saturn, right? If you were to go on a search engine, whatever search engine you want, and you want to find out when we discovered Saturn, it'll tell you 1610. Galileo saw the rings for the first time through a telescope. But anybody that knows anything, even very, very briefly broaching topics, has heard about Saturnalia and everything, that the Jews are a Saturn, the black cube, all this stuff. I'm under the contention that Saturn was a lot closer to us then than it was now. In fact, it was known as the black sun. Can you speak upon that?
The black sun, yes, because it's also the black cube. People don't get what this construct is. That's why, the thoughts are all over the place. But if you truly ground yourself in your spiritual knowing, you have to go within for answers, not necessarily externally.
Mm-hmm.
I literally woke up one morning with my subconscious mind telling me about the Freemasons, and it's not Freemason, it's three Mason, because you have holy trinities of literally everything when you start to truly look into alchemy and the processes of that. And it told me, not to get off the Saturn, but just for a moment, it told me to go and draw a 33rd degree angle using a compass or speed square. And I had a speed square, so I started drawing this because I was like, what am I going to make? The Star of David, which is, just a star tetrahedron for the four elements of alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up drawing a pentagram. And I was like, oh, yes, this is the four elements plus the ether. And this is what they're using as a tool to draw in power from above and into the below.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturn is cube shape because Saturn is time. Time is Chronos. Chronos is the Grim Reaper.
Cosmology, right?
But so is Earth. If you look at Platonic solids, this is Plato's Platonic solids, not my information, but in the elements of Platonic solids in Plato's work, Earth is a cube. Saturn is a cube because they co-create time and space together. It is the shadow aspect. It is the dark father, the one that is the dark lord. That is the shadow aspect of our world that we do not recognize as Lord, because we only think of Lord being Jesus, but that is incorrect. They have subverted a lot of what's in the Bible to their whims. Mm-hmm. And this is, it's a heavily edited book.
Oh, yeah.
But digging into the aspects, the alchemists of old, plus learning the four elements and, all this stuff like this, what we're talking about, these topics, digging as deep as we can go is where we will find the truth. And it will actually enlighten you like so much to the point that you don't see the evil so much anymore. Mm-hmm. What you start to comprehend is that the darkness is here to teach us lessons. In this existence, there's duality. Mm-hmm. So you can study the yin and yang. This is part of the four elements of alchemy. And it begins with yin being the water and earth principle, and the yang being the air and fire principle. Fire is light. It's also the spirit, the light that's inside of us. Mm-hmm. So the shadow aspect is more dense. It is beneath the ground, in its densest core. Mm-hmm. This is where this whole notion of hell comes from. Mm-hmm. Because if you go into the Norse cosmology, again, you start seeing that there's three spheres in this existence that create the cosmic egg of Yggdrasil that's in Norse cosmology. In Rosicrucianism, they also have a very similar diagram where there's three rings. With us, we're in Midgard. If you follow Lord of the Rings, it's pretty much the playbook of what we're dealing with.
Just to let you know, too, is that because him and C.S. Lewis, who wrote Mere Christianity, were fantastic friends. Tolkien, right? Tolkien was a Christian, too, but he understood all this.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's so very fascinating.
They're telling us so much in Lord of the Rings that if you truly are an occultist and you've been doing some research in your homework, you start seeing all the symbolism and the things that they're using. It ties into Yggdrasil. And Yggdrasil is the Norse cosmology. They taught that there's 9 realms in this cosmic egg, and they're based in alchemy. So you have frost giants, fire giants, earth giants, and air giants. And the giants, as we know, were real. there's evidence all around that they've been trying to hide about the bones.
You mean every time that the Museum of Natural History like destroys one of these freaking 30-foot monsters?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been taking them. Smithsonian is part of the Vatican's long arm of, octopi, tentacle controlling things.
I think it's Rothschild too, but I might be wrong on that.
The Rothschilds are just a very small puppet to play out.
I agree with you on that 100%.
In the banking system, because Santos Bonacci knows, he's like, there's all these other crime syndicate families that are not known. And really, even above them, there's even smaller amounts of people who truly aren't known. Their names are not named in any circle, and we may never know them. But the back to the Lord of the Rings, when you see the orcs coming out of the ground, what are they doing? They're burning the trees, right? Because the trees hold the balance between heaven and earth. So when you look around at our world and you see the astronomical rate of which trees are being destroyed, for what purpose? And the chemtrails, all these things that are like, you have to take every event, like step off Earth and look at literally everything that's affecting us on every level right now. And you go, what is this? It seems like they're terraforming this plane of existence. For whom? I do suspect that there are beings under the ground, and I do believe that this is where these little grays in their little suits are coming from, because
you're talking about Agartha.
Well, I believe that there are watchers who actually do watch the planet that are benevolent, and there's watchers who are on the opposite spectrum.
Do you believe that they keep very close eye on because you hear stories about nuclear reactors and things being switched off and not knowing about it? Do you think they're protecting us from nuclear catastrophe?
Yes. Have you heard about the Hyperboreans? Have you done any research?
Please, no, jump in. I would love to learn.
Hyperboreans. So in the Gnostics, like Pliny the Elder spoke highly of the Hyperboreans who lived beyond the straits of the wind, beyond the north winds. And, Yggdrasil comes from Norse cosmology. I believe that a lot of these myths and legends hold truth. So basically where the Aurora Borealis actually emanates from, because we've never actually been to the place where it actually begins.
Guys, Aurora Borealis, if you've ever seen, if you've gone to Greenland or Finland or one of those Northern European, and you look up at the sky where we don't have light pollution and industrial pollution like we have right here, and you can see the whole sky like they used to thousands of years ago, which is how they were able to encode all these stories about the stars doing all this magical stuff that people now take literally as your holy text. You'll see the most beautiful colors, green and orange, and just this. Let me see if I can pull it up, actually, but I'll let you keep talking.
It's emanating mostly green, but there's some purple as well. There are people called Hyperboreans that live at what we know of as the North Pole. It is not the North Pole. What it is the center of the Earth. And when you get into alchemy again and you learn about the dome, and comes from Santos Bonacci, and you learn about the firmament and the waters that separate the waters. That's energy right there. All that light energy, they are holding the balance with their consciousness. This is the mother tree spoken of in Yggdrasil. It's the world tree. And the old map, there's a Monty's old world map from the 1500s that shows and depicts what we consider the North Pole, what it looks like. It's made of 4 islands, and it's said that there is a black iron mountain there called Mount Sumeru. And even in India, you'll find this information, and in Tibet, you'll find information about Mount Sumeru, or Mount Meru as it is known. And the Mount Meru is the core of an old tree. This thing is enormous. The mountain is supposedly 40 miles across, but there's also said to be a whirlpool that goes in and goes out. And this is where the oceans actually breathe from, not the moon pulling it in a different fashion.
It's important to mention too, Ellen, that for the trees, well, two things. Number one, people think that trees give us oxygen because they take in carbon dioxide and then they convert it to oxygen and send it to us. And they think that trees are the source of most of our oxygen. That's not true. I think something like 80 to 90% of the world oxygen comes from phytoplankton in the ocean. But the important thing about trees to know is there are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. So it's kind of like a moot point to see them continuously destroyed. They're never going to dent it.
Well, as you can see, I mean, just from knowing that the forests out in California, the redwood forests, how large those trees still are.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see trees that large anymore. It's like the world is diminishing compared to like places like Devil's Tower that, you know, certainly looks like the remnant of a tree trunk with the rings and everything.
Those
then
there's big things that look like trees, and people are saying they're trees, and they're saying, no, that's just some sort of, those are actually trees.
They are ancient trees, and they've even found an ancient stone alligator. You know, this thing is enormous. I mean, and a snake too. They found this huge snake that is just beyond, and you're like, wow, so the world really was huge some long time ago, and that all of this knowledge is being kept from us for whatever reason, just to control us, I guess. But that
in the Bible it does say there were giants in those days.
Yes,
right? It does say that, but then nothing else, and then they just move on.
It's like that whole story is taken out, but for what purpose? But Mount Sumeru and the Hyperboreans is a fascinating tale, you know, about these people actually live at, I'll call it the North Pole just because that's, you know, what we know it as. They live there, and they can choose when they die because they have reached a state of consciousness that is far beyond our, you know, intelligence, what we think is intelligence. And they actually are trying to hold the world in balance. And look at where Tibet is. You know, Tibet is up close to those areas, and so is Russia.
Isn't it interesting too that the in Indiana Jones, I think it's in Indiana Jones where he's looking for the Ark, right? I think that was Spielberg, wasn't it?
Yes, Spielberg.
It was Spielberg, right? Where's the first place they go?
Yeah, I know. And
they go to Tibet, guys. In case you didn't know that, that's the first place they go.
Arc is ARC. You know, arc is energy. It's electricity. When we're talking about El, and we're talking about Ek, I don't know if you've heard of Eckankar, the world of Eckankar, which is the heavenly light realms.
In Hebrew, the word Melech means king in Hebrew.
Listen, Mal Ek, right? Mal is bad. Ek is light.
Right.
The Eckankar. So we have El, which is Saturn, and then Ek, the heavenly light realm, which is light is electricity. When you're talking about the moon and other things, you're talking about magnetism.
Yes.
So it's El.
That's Walter Russell. That's all Walter Russell. And I think Santos goes into it a little bit too.
And so El Ek Tri, Holy Trinity, C and T are the same frequency in the solfeggio scale. So it's a higher frequency. And it's just telling me, like, in the words and the language that we use, we can find alchemy. And that alchemy is based on radionics. When you're writing all of these sigils, which is words, scribing letters, that's sigil magic, which is radionics, which goes into cymatics, and cymatics, you know, creates light. And it just, everything starts bleeding into itself, and you realize absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt, everything is one, and our thoughts are creating the things around us.
Right. That's what they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know how important your thoughts and your emotions are. They try and keep you in a low vibrational state.
Yes, which is why we need to stop attacking each other, which is why we need to stop judging other people. We need to start fixing what's broken inside of us. Why are we attacking other people? Why are we, judging and doing all these things?
I'm a full believer that to attack someone, maybe their spirit irritated your demons, but it's basically your projection of yourself onto them.
Yes, absolutely. We are just precipitates from an ocean of consciousness, and we're all connected through one thread. And I've joined the Rosicrucian Order, and it's amazing because it's pretty much everything I've already been teaching myself. Trying to find. I wish we had mystery schools, but
they're coming back in Egypt. Cometicism, real Cometicism, is coming back.
Yes, and I suspect that there's actually 2 trees of life based on my studies into the Celtic Golden Dawn, which has a different set of sound frequencies.
Wait, based on your what? Into what?
Into the Celtic Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Celtic Golden Dawn.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Order of the Golden Dawn. Okay, my bad.
No. This is the Celtic Golden Dawn. They have a different tree of life with different Sephiroth. The sound frequencies are the most important things. You will not find their tree of life online. You will only find it in the Celtic Golden Dawn book.
So just so you guys know, no, that's not it. Come on, hold on one sec. There we go. Please open. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Again, I apologize that we have to kind of like piecemeal these share screens together.
That's all right.
It's been a pain.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with.
We'll get it. This is Kabbalah. Would you say this is exoteric or esoteric?
It's esoteric. I think it's both, because this is within and without. And there's
also a tree of death, guys, that goes below the bottom point.
Yes.
There's also a tree of death.
I suspect there's 2 different trees. There may even be 4, because you have a right-hand path and you have a left-hand path.
Right.
And I do suspect, based on sound frequencies alone, that the Hermetic tree that they're teaching people is the left-hand path.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go out into like a Books A Million or any bookstore today, because I went to a Books A Million and I went into the different young reading section and all that, all they're teaching people is black magic and death and destruction and vampires, all this darkness, because we're in the age of darkness right now. We have to bring forth the light to outshine the darkness that we're going through.
Well, that's going to be, we're in the transition between Pisces and Aquarius, which is Pisces is the age of belief and the dark age. And the age of Aquarius is the age of knowing. The problem is we're in the transition period. So we're getting a lot of the old Piscean bullshit energy still.
Yes.
But it's dying off. And people are waking up. There's so many of us out there.
Yeah, it's coming online. We're watching everybody as they come online into their knowing. And it's a beautiful thing to see people start to question reality as opposed to following the narrative. And the old principles of Pisces that have been in control, they are about to be put on notice. That's about to shift, because we have to gain our spiritual awareness before we dive headlong into this technocracy age that is rising around us. It is going to be the metaverse versus the metaphysical. And we have to have our metaphysical tools ready to do battle at the end of the age of Aquarius. That's all of what we're seeing right now. We're witnessing all of this. They were trying to push the timeline into this Borg system, where the system of control is inside of us. And
you're talking about it's like Agenda 21, and then it turned to Agenda 2030.
Yes.
And, right.
They are not going to have their way with that. Although
but they know their time is up. Ellen, I truly believe they know their time is up, and that's why they're accelerating things and freaking out. And that's why everything seems like it's so much stronger and in your face, and so many people can see past everything.
Yes.
People aren't dealing with duality choices anymore. What I always tell people, Ellen, is this. I tell people, if you're confused as to why you're seeing a certain topic in the mainstream news pressed over and over again in the publications, in the mainstream news, it's for 2 reasons. Number 1, can this divide the country? And if it can, fantastic. Number 2, can it make money? Because if it can make money and it can divide the country, that is not going anywhere. And that's why you see things like the transgender thing, this, that, and the other thing coming along, is because it's divisive and it makes money. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're losing control, so they are throwing literally the book. All the things that they've used in the past, they're literally throwing the book at us. Mm-hmm. I just saw a video where all of the migrants that have been coming across the border in our country, and I'm sure other countries, are now being brought in to be soldiers for, I guess, the whole Biden military. But the whole Biden thing is a sham. It's a fake Biden. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Is it CIA agent? I don't know.
Right.
But I don't watch the show. I try to steer clear, because as we continue to put our focus on the noise that is being made out in the world, that only takes your consciousness and, your magic, your energy, mm-hmm. and puts it in their camp, their agenda. They want you to remain focused on this.
Things are starting to wake up, Alan. Marijuana is becoming legal everywhere. I don't know if you heard, but the Rife machine just got FDA approved.
Yeah, well, you know what I do? I use caution with all of the new technologies. We have the ability to heal ourselves and other people just with our sound, just with our consciousness. That's what Hermetics, the initiation into Hermetics by Franz Barden, can actually teach you. How to heal others with your mind, not with technology. We have to be careful about the technology. We already know what Wi-Fi does. We know what these RF frequencies and all these things. We know that it's harmful to our whole physical body. So, of course, the FDA wants to get their hands on it, because then they can sell people something that might be a deception, where they're buying up all the organic farms and then they're flipping it and making it poison. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say, don't run out to the latest and greatest anything. We're eating dead food.
You could still go on YouTube and look up Qigong or Qigong healers through manifesting shrinking tumors. You can see the screen on the side, right? And you see the tumor sticking out of the pancreas.
Yes.
And then they're putting their energy, and then the tumor's gone. And then if that doesn't work, which it does, but if that doesn't work, we just have to look into the ancient sound frequencies.
Yes, that's what the cathedrals were. They were the healing centers of old. They had cisterns of water. The water was important because water's literally everywhere.
I don't know if you saw my video. I don't know how long you've been watching this channel, but I don't know if you saw my video that I made. I explained that it was a lady that went into a church, and you had the empty pew in the front with the microphone. And what she did, and there was no one in the church, she recorded the silence, and then she kept playing it back and then re-recording and then playing it back and re-recording until it formed a cymatic pattern on sand that she had brought. That cymatic pattern that it formed was the exact same pattern as the stained glass window.
It's amazing. This is what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the alchemy of the four elements, because that's what these cathedrals were using. They were using stone, which is earth. They were using water. They were using air. That's what this high ceiling is for. And then, of course, the fire is the spirit. The spirit is us. And it's the sound frequency that we can.
It's been dumped down. I mean, there's an underground cave. I forget where it's located, but the whole cave was built at 111 hertz. It was a sound healing frequency.
Yes.
You got 111, 432. And they try and tell you this too. When you look at the Sumerians' king list, right? And they say one lived this long and then died, one lived this. If you were to add all the kings list up, it comes out to 432,000. It's a hermetic frequency. They were putting this absurdly deep knowledge into it. And God, the more that I learn, Ellen, the more I realize just how dumbed down people are.
Yes.
Like they have, it is what, was it Rockefeller that said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. And with the education system and everything, they have been dumbing us down.
Yes.
But we're coming out. We're starting to figure all this stuff out.
But now it's time for us to reclaim the old world and the old ways. because those are the ways forward. And the ones that are following the narrative forward are going to be the ones that get deceived by all of this technology. This technology can be a benefit, but right now it is being used as a means of control. Mm-hmm. All of the banking system is wrapped around every little format that we use online. All of the PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, all of these different things are tied into the centralized banking system, which is one controller. The decentralized banking system is the one to follow, but it's being created in the BRICS nations outside of this country. So they have a stronghold here in this nation, and they're going to bring us to our knees if we do not start making our own money. We have to make our own society without them and their control, their overreach. Because I keep, in just about every interview that I've been on, I keep warning people about PayPal. I had an experience with PayPal where they robbed my personal banking account. I called them out several times, but they refused to even help me. They're like, we can't do anything. They could not refund the money that they stole from they actually, so here's what happened. I had someone pay me via PayPal, which I did not know that was going to happen. And I, rather than pay me in person, because I would see these people every week. So I tried to refund that money to them from my PayPal account. And it, instead of taking it from PayPal, it took it from my bank account, robbed my bank account, sent it into arrears. I tried to get PayPal to fix everything. Every employee of PayPal that I spoke to said they could not help me. Even the CEOs of PayPal said they could not help me until I gave them, acquiesced to their demands of giving them either my social security number, which we do not have to ever do. This is a lie. I've been learning about law, and we do not have to give that. Or giving them some access, some more access to my...
PayPal, by the way, was created by Elon Musk. Do you think all this negativity happened after he left?
Oh my gosh, Elon Musk. So I suspect Elon has already been hijacked by the Borg with the Neuralink, because back in 2015 and 16, Elon Musk was warning the world about artificial intelligence. He said, I think we need to really reconsider, this artificial intelligence.
He did that on Rogan's interview.
And then all of a sudden he came out, he's promoting it. But we have clones apparently. And there's all kinds of technologies that it would blow our minds, Dreamland and all that, where they can take ET home. And I mean, we have literally no conceivable idea of the capabilities of what.
I know for a fact in Japan, they could hook you up to a bunch of monitors all over, put you to sleep. Well, not put you to sleep, but let you fall asleep, or maybe put you to sleep. And then by your brainwave pattern, they could actually 3D image what you're actually seeing in your dream.
Thought control is coming. The Minority Report is coming. If you've watched Black Mirror on Netflix, you will know the playbook that is coming. Because they had technology called the chronoscope and chronovisor to be able to peer into the future and know exactly what was going to happen.
The chronovisor supposedly is to look into the past, and supposedly it's in the Vatican, right?
Yeah, but the chronoscope is another aspect of that. So there was an Irish woman who developed one of those technologies, and she had the one that could look into the past. But supposedly the Vatican had one that could peer into the future, and it uses crystal technology. So I was watching Marcel Vogel's stuff. Are you familiar with Marcel Vogel?
No, but when you're talking crystal technology, that's all Edgar Casey would talk about from the past, from Atlantis, things of that nature. Yes. But yeah, no, go on. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I mean, Marcel Vogel, he worked for IBM. He was a scientist that worked for IBM for 27 years, and he researched crystal technology. He's the one who developed our liquid crystal display screens that we use in laptops and phones and stuff. Right, so he learned...
Well, crystals are the future of hard drives.
Yes. Well, they already use it.
They're infinite storage. Yes. 10 years ago, my first book, I wrote about something that was cutting edge at the time. They embedded a movie and an article into a crystal, and then they were able to extract it. What do you think is going to be running computers? They show you in Superman in the Cave of the Crystals. They show you this stuff. They show you everything.
it's showing us right now that we don't need this crazy D-Wave computer, the demon is, and even Elon Musk said, you know, with this artificial intelligence, we're actually contacting the demon. And you know how that goes with, you know, the pentagram and the holy water. And they say, oh, can you control this? Yeah, no, it didn't work out so well. He said this in an interview. So, and Ahriman, if you know about Rudolf Steiner's work, and he talks about Ahriman will actually incarnate during this epoch. Ahriman is this destructive force that we're now embracing. And you can kind of think of it like this. If you listen to the term Ahriman, airy man, because of the age of Aquarius is air. And this computer and all of this technology is mind-based, which is air. This is what we're talking about. I mean, it's more connectivity, connecting more dots. And we just need to elevate the awareness of others so that they can follow some sort of stream of thought, to be able to see the deceptions and recognize which direction to go when that time comes.
Okay, so we've got about 5-6 minutes left.
Yeah,
I want you to give us hope now.
And absolutely.
Tell us what you see, how we move forward, and give some people some ideas of things to look into. And if you're keen to it, let people know where to find you if they have any questions, because you are an extraordinarily interesting person. You are very well knowledged, and I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed talking to you as well, because as we can have these discussions, you know, more people can start tuning in to this line of thinking and truly elevate their own consciousness and their curiosity to go seek out this information on their own. Because that's what I do. So I'm double Aquarius with a Libra moon. I'm a triple air sign. So I came here to incarnate, to grasp the knowledge, take it in like a sponge, because I can't even remember what I did yesterday, but somehow I can remember all this stuff that I talk about. And then come for truth and justice. That's what Libra represents. The balance, you know, bringing back the balance. But the hope for the world. Look into Marcel Vogel, crystal technology. He was teaching people how to heal themselves with a crystal. He also has many other very good gems of truth in his videos on YouTube. Also, I just came across it was amazing synchronicity. Right before I came on with you, I came across the water song. So there is a website called singthewatersong.com. And it encourages people to go and start singing this song in the 4 cardinal directions, so that you can begin healing this entire existence, and the earth will start responding to our thoughts and our creation of our voice.
You know, I talk about this too. I said that they brought in Washington, D.C., which is one of the most liberal and also one of the most dangerous places in the country. They brought in, I think it was 15, 20 years ago, they brought in all these Tibetan monks, and they put them up in a hotel right in downtown D.C., and they filled the hotel up with them. There was like hundreds of these monks. And what they had them do was just sit in their hotel room and just meditate and pray. And you know what happened when they all collectively did that? That particular weekend that they were there, the crime rate went down 30%.
Yes, it does not surprise me, because we are all one. The monks are trying to hold the balance in this world as well. And once we join forces in that egregore, and egregore is a collective thought. If we join forces by putting our thoughts in the same place, we can begin to shift the entire dynamic of this entire existence. That's just plain and simple.
Beautiful. So this was very interesting, and I would like to have you back on next time. We can actually do some symbols and sigils. But if you want, where are you on? Do you have a website? Are you on social media?
I have a website. It's wellenbe, WELLENBE.com, and I also have Era of My Ways on YouTube. I also have ellensart.com, ELLENSART. That's my art website. And you can also find my information on Facebook.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to download this and upload it right away. This was fascinating. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. It was wonderful being here.
It was wonderful meeting you too. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.